So Arrival has been nominated in the Best Film category, and this is about a linguist who is trying to cope with aliens landing on Earth. She's played by Amy Adams, and it's, I think, everyone's favourite film of 2016. What did you think of it?
I think visually it looks extraordinary, and the filmmaker Denis Villeneuve, he is capable of these kind of big ideas, and he kind of whacks you over the head with them quite often. And Arrival certainly does that. Visually it looks amazing, these kind of egg-shaped domes that hover over the Earth, and the amazing Amy Adams, who is nominated in the Best Actress category as well for her performance in this. She's sort of becoming the sort of young Meryl Streep. She's nominated every time she turns up. And you can see why, because she plays this, I think we term it a first contact movie. She plays this kind of wonder and awe quite brilliantly. The actual sort of technique of acting the linguistic kind of barriers that she has to overcome for these aliens is quite, you know, superb. And you're tense with her every time she meets an alien. And there's a great kind of show-stopping moments that I wouldn't want to spoil for anyone who hasn't seen the movie. Yet, for me, the movie is brilliant for 3/4 of it, and then whips the rug from under your feet, which sort of kind of ruined it.
Were you
for
slightly
me.
disappointed by that ending? Because I
More
thought it
than
was
disappointed.
ending.
I was livid.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Livid, my word. I mean, I think it's the ending that makes the film. I mean, I think it's an extraordinary film on lots of levels. But I mean, I think it's the ending that really, I mean, it's actually, that's when it all comes together so beautifully. And I'm so pleased that actually it's got a screenplay nomination, because the short story by Ted Chiang was great, but actually translating that into cinema, it's not an easy task, you know.
Right.
And I think what's interesting about Arrival is that it's got 9 nominations. It's got this, as Jason says, it has got this sense of spectacle. You know, it's a blockbuster in one sense, but it's also a small, smart little movie as well. So it's interesting that the level it's connected with people is that emotional level, and it's connected with people in the way that a smaller, more intimate film does. You know, so actually, I think you get the best of both worlds.
Yes, because this is a sci-fi first and foremost,
Absolutely.
but it's a very clever sci-fi. You know, you don't expect these massive explosions, kind of left, right, and centre. It's very performance-driven, and it's very subtle, and it's quite slow. And I think it's unexpected. And I think actually that's what people are enjoying about Arrival.
Yeah, it's not a sci-fi where the doors go psh, or there's kind of spaceships, and it's not a space opera. You know, it's kind of here and now sci-fi, which normally the sort of sci-fi that I like, almost Kubrickian in a way. What I didn't like was that it felt that it had this great kind of linguistic kind of philosophy to it. And then it had to kind of go, oh, actually, no, people aren't going to want that. We're going to have to go on about you know, babies and love relationships. And I really, when we're talking about aliens, I just don't care about babies and love and all of this stuff. I know that's what makes us human, but I thought the film had dealt with such great philosophical issues, and then to bring it all back felt cowardly to me.
See, I'm going to disagree with you, because I think there can be nothing more philosophical or brave than dealing with babies and love, dealing with that stuff honestly, and I think Arrival does. You know, that's what I think is remarkable about the film. I'm delighted that it's getting the recognition, because I thought it might slip through the cracks a little bit. I think certainly in cinemas, a lot of people were going along expecting Independence Day and expecting this huge, great, you know, quote-unquote proper sci-fi experience, and it's not that film. But I also thought with BAFTA, I thought there was a chance that possibly it would be a little bit too small, it would be a little bit too, it would fall between two stools, and it hasn't done that, which is great.
But do you think that this is going to have the real kind of drive to go above all the other films, incredible films that are nominated in this category, and win?
I think Arrival is the kind of film which will make quite a deep, no matter, despite Jason's scepticism, which I completely respect, I think it's the kind of film which the people that connect with it will connect with it quite profoundly, I think, because it's that kind of movie. So in terms of the spread of its voters, you know, it remains to be seen how large that's going to be, but I think the people who are behind this movie, the people who are fans of Arrival, are going to be die-hard fans of it.
Got to give a little shout out to the music for it, which actually kind of had me at the very first note of it. Johan Johansson, who has been nominated 3 times in a row, did The Theory of Everything last year, and did Villeneuve's Sicario before. He works in the kind of slightly experimental genre, but yet uses his classicism in a very minimal, almost electronic way. I think he's kind of one of the most inventive people around. His music, for me, though, is the standout in Arrival. It's big and it's bold, but it's also kind of, it brings that intimacy that you're saying. Is that, for me, it worked on a musical level rather than an emotional level.
I think, no, I mean, the music is a good shout out. I think the other thing we need to mention is also the cinematography.
Yes.
Bradford Young's been nominated, for what it's worth, also the first person of colour to be nominated as DP for BAFTA, which is an insane statistic, but thankfully we're there now.
Yeah,
but also the cinematography is astonishing in this film, because again it has that combination, which is incredibly rare. I can't think of another movie which does it so effectively, of bringing in that big blockbuster sci-fi spectacle and also keeping things, Kubrickian is a good word for it actually, it keeps things tight and inventive as well. Once you're inside the spaceship, again it's the kind of cinematography that doesn't necessarily even draw attention to itself. I mean, you're not watching those scenes thinking, my God, look at the work of the DP, but actually when you sit there afterwards and you digest what you loved about that movie and why it almost spoke directly to your brain, it's Bradford Young's work that I think helps do that.
So we talked about Denis Villeneuve's work, so Sicario he's done before, and Prisoners. Really solid films, really popular. I mean, audiences love them, especially Sicario, actually. So do you think he's becoming like a bit of a stalwart in cinema?
Yeah, I do. I think he has this kind of, as I say, he's almost Dickensian sometimes, in the kind of, or Zola. He's kind of got this big, epic reach. Then he does kind of go into the personal. Prisoners is a very good example of that, because it was about kind of what can man do to kind of affect revenge in some kind of way, and it becomes very much about that personal struggle. He's obviously trying lots of genres. I mean, Sicario is a thriller genre. He's off doing Blade Runner next, I believe, which is probably on taking what he's got in Arrival and then turning it up again.
It'll be interesting, I think, in 10 years' time, whether people look back at Blade Runner, which I think will be successful. I think Villeneuve could pull it off, and I think that they'll see Arrival almost as the first instalment. So you almost have Arrival, and then you have this step onto Blade Runner. I think it's the best film that Denis Villeneuve has made. I mean, I think everything he's made before. There's been these 10-minute moments which are incredible and kind of unnerving and unsettling, and then maybe it's just me, the mind wanders and it feels like tonally he kind of wobbles a little bit. And this is the first film he's made, I think, where actually from first to last you think, I'm with him the whole way.
So this could be the year for Denis and for Arrival. So join us on the 12th of February to find out who the winners are.